If you guys have been following along, you saw that we just dropped off Lori Sue in the Chesapeake Bay to finally get her warranty work and new decks taken care of. And she's looking amazing. A lot of you have been asking if she has sold yet, and she has not been sold yet, but we have some solid interest. And I think as soon as the new decks are on, I think she's gonna sell pretty quick. So we'll keep you guys up to date. We'll show you the new decks as soon as we get back to her. And the listing is still in the link in our description. If you have any interest and you wanna see her when the new decks are on, then just shoot us an email.
But in the meantime,
for a while now, I've been thinking about our next boat, and we've come up with a list of criteria of what we're looking for in our next boat.
and this is a list of criteria we have been going over for the past, 11 years from our time living on all these different boats. So
But just consolidating, really within the past year, really narrowing it down to what do we really want.
and we're currently actually on a boat that we are going to show you next week. We have a couple boats lined up that we've done boat tours with, and we can't wait to share those with you. But before we get into that, we need to remind you to take your vitamins.
And today's video sponsor, Groons, makes that super easy. With just one pack of gummies a day, you not only get vitamins, but minerals, adaptogens, antioxidants, prebiotics, and so much more.
All in a snack pack of 8 little gummy bears that are super cute and taste like candy, but are actually good for you.
Most of you guys know that we prioritize a super healthy lifestyle and diet, but even if we do our very best, sometimes we still lack certain nutrients, and Groons helps us fill those gaps in a super easy way. I just take the whole thing at once.
You do? You don't savor it?
I do, but very quickly.
Two different types of people. It's like whether you bite your ice cream or you lick your ice cream.
I buy it sometimes.
Groon supports gut health, energy, immunity, recovery, and cognition, and is more comprehensive and accurately dosed than many other supplements, vitamins, and green powders on the market.
Groons is made up of vitamins that are dosed at 100% and minerals that are dosed at 25%, which makes them effective but also safe. Groons is also methylated, which makes vitamins like B12 and folate actually absorbed by your body.
So if you would like to try Groons out for yourself, then click the link in the description and get up to 52% off your first order.
So thank you to Groons for sponsoring this video, and now let's get into what you guys have all been waiting for. What are we looking for in our next boat?
We are officially on the hunt for our next boat. We get so much joy out of taking something that's been kind of forgotten about and giving that new life, and then going on some crazy cool adventure with that thing that we just spent so many hours and blood, sweat, and tears working on, and then getting to enjoy it. That brings so much joy, to me at least. I don't know about you. And it gives us purpose and something to work for. And obviously we had to work very hard to get this boat, but we didn't physically do it. And then when we go somewhere, it's we didn't have anything to do with putting this boat together and making it look good, or the lines of the boat. Whenever we pulled up to the dinghy from being away on Mountain Mist, it was oh my gosh, she's beautiful, and we did that.
What is our next boat going to be?
We're leaning towards Trawler, however, catamaran is not out of the question. We love sailing catamarans. You love to sail, you want to sail fast. With the amount of space and comfort that we have on Lori Sue, we'd have to go a lot bigger to get the things that we're going to get into in this video.
Especially if we want any sort of performance. Not even ultra performance, just any sort of pretty decent sailing. And then, because not many boats match the ergonomics and everything like that. And then especially when you get more performance, you get less comfort
so
generally. So you got to go bigger to get that same level of comfort.
And with that length and that speed comes that price.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons that, for what I want specifically, there's really not much out there. Well, or what we both want. There's really not much out there on the market that checks all the boxes.
I mean, I have some that I could do.
But that matches what we both want. Yeah. There really aren't, because, the comfortable, larger performance catamarans are... There's not many older ones on the market that check the boxes, and then all the relatively any other ones are just $1 million plus. All of a sudden, we did see one or two that came on the market that are definitely getting close to our price range that would absolutely work for me, but you don't seem to love the
love them. So I don't know if that's gonna work.
That will come down to our must-haves in this video that we're getting to.
So you know us, we've been back and forth. Trawlers, catamarans, sailboats, powerboats, they both have their pros and cons. I really do love to sail. You tolerate it. I think you like it when when you're a fair weather sailor, like when it's...
Absolutely, and I will admit that all day long, but I also do know how much you love it, but I also only know how much you only love it when you're going fast.
Yeah, but not, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to be doing 20 knots, but like, it kind of drives me a little bit nuts when we're only doing 4 or 5 knots when, you know, on another boat we could be doing 10 knots in that same wind speed. So for me, if like, we've had this conversation privately, and for me, if I'm not gonna get that satisfaction of what I'm looking for in sailing from our big sailing boat, then I'd rather not make the compromise that comes with that, which is weight and space, you know, restrictions, right?
Yeah, and I think for me, like, I am a fair weather sailor, so I'm perfectly happy going on a trawler. However, at some point I do think we do want to cross the Pacific, and you're fine doing that on a trawler, but I think I would much rather do that on a catamaran.
And that is what they say, like, you shouldn't buy the boat that you're going to want in, you know, over 5 years. You should buy the boat that you want for the next few years. I think we'd still consider a cat if the right one came up, but I think it's a very long shot, and if we don't get the cat that's gonna satisfy, you know, what I want in sailing, then I think we'd both much have a trawler that we wouldn't restrict us in weight or space or anything like that. We could do whatever we want, and the only price we have to pay with that is just, I guess, not being able to sail, and just whatever fuel consumption comes along with that boat.
And the soul aspect when you get somewhere and you can't be like, we use Mother Nature to get here.
Yeah, but when have we really done that? We've been motor sailing a lot recently.
Because we've been on a tight schedule.
I think with this next boat, or whatever future boat, even a house, because we were considering a house at some point, we want to be debt-free on it, so that we don't have restrictions like being required to have insurance. I think our next boat, we will have liability insurance because it's generally pretty cheap, but we probably will not have comprehensive insurance. We'll entertain it, we'll like get some quotes and see what's out there, and if it's cheap enough, we'll get it, whatever, cheap insurance, right? But if it's significant, especially with a boat like what we're looking for, like an older boat that we can do all the work, it doesn't have to be in this perfect condition or whatever, then yeah, there's no way. We will just take that money we would be paying insurance, and we'll put it in a savings account, and we won't touch it unless we have a catastrophic disaster that requires us to use it. We'll take that, yeah, we'll take the risk on ourselves, but we'll take the precautions on ourselves, like we've always done. We've luckily, besides the shipping damage, which is a different type of insurance, different type of scenario, we've never ever had an insurance claim. Yeah, jeez. Alright, well, we've been blabbing for a long time, so our next boat could be a catamaran if we find the unicorn. We don't want any sort of financing because we don't want to need to have insurance or any other attachments that go along with financing. We just don't want to be leveraged at all.
What is on our list?
We have a big old list of requirements in our next boat. So probably looking at a trawler. Where do you want to start?
Okay, number one, it's gotta be unique. It's gotta have character. It's gotta be cool. It's gotta be something when you come up on the dinghy, you're like, that's my boat. That's our boat, you know?
Obviously, you get biased with your own boat, but I think all our boats have been that way. They've had some good character. Tula, Neverland, Adrenaline, Mountain Mist. Even this boat looks really nice in its own way.
Lorisu is the best looking catamaran under...
Again, we're biased.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 40 foot and less, 100%.
We pull up, and yes, we don't get that joy of we did this, we made it look pretty, but we do get that joy of that is the best looking catamaran in the anchorage, so...
Yeah. Materials. It's got to be a fiberglass, a steel, or an aluminum hull.
We are Xing wood.
No wood, and honestly, steel is this close from being on the chopping block. Yeah. And aluminum, I don't think we're gonna find what we're looking for in an aluminum boat within our price range. It's
Quite-
going to be tough, but we're open to it because that would be a cool material haul.
There's quite a few really cool boats that we both really like, but they're steel, and we've talked to some people and they're like, yeah, no big deal, and we've talked to other people and they're like, oh, you don't even want to get in there.
Steel it's not very accepted in the US markets. It's very accepted in like European and other markets as just a boat hull material. And I've been talking to a lot of people, been doing a lot of research, and I think I have a pretty good grasp of what to expect with a steel hull. And I think that is that a steel hull is very strong. A steel hull, I mean, it can take a beating. And the biggest risk of a steel hull is just rusting. So you got to keep up with the rust. And if you do, say, a full-on sandblast job, and then a proper epoxy paint job, and then you do your top coats and whatever, and then you keep up with the maintenance, all the little spots every year, then that'll last you maybe 10 years before you probably have to do another big blast job and do everything over again. And maybe a little bit longer if you're really careful on top of that. But it still requires that yearly, like every time you get a little nick or a little paint chip or this or that, you gotta grind it or wire brush it or whatever, get that barrier coat on, and then get your top coat on if you want. But it does require that maintenance. And yeah.
On top of that, like, you're already so good at fiberglass, so...
Yes. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I don't do Bristol finish work, but, like, we can make things strong and waterproof. And, yeah, I have a lot of experience doing that at this point. And with steel, it's learning a whole new... I mean, it's not like rocket science, right? But, like, it's just getting used to doing working with a whole new material. New tools, like... I welded in high school, haven't done it in years, but like relearning how to weld, getting a welder, like all this stuff. And it's just a whole new philosophy that we'd have to learn and acquire, and rather probably not do that. If there's a steel boat and a fiberglass boat and everything else is the same, we'd 1,000% go fiberglass.
Which I guess we kind of skipped over the big thing before we even started. What is our budget? Well, first off, we want something that needs some work. We want to put in that blood, sweat, and tears. And we also want something that I would say needs to be less than 300. Ideally, less than 200. Would be willing to like dive deep in a huge project for less than 150.
If it was a massive project, it'd have to be less than 150. Yeah.
Because we don't want to like totally redo something from head to toe, but like we want to do a good amount of work too.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do, make it our own.
We think it'd be really cool to convert like an old commercial fishing vessel or a tug or a Coast Guard boat or Navy boat into a liveaboard boat. Like that's the ultimate goal, but a lot of the things that we've been finding are steel. That need a lot of work and are really, really, really old. And
I'll take one more step back. The other big question mark about steel with these old commercial steel boats is like how much thickness is left in the steel, and that is, for a surveyor who's very familiar with steel, is a little more straightforward than someone like me who's not as familiar with steel. I understand the concept perfectly. It's like how much thickness is left in that original steel plating. And surveyors have tools that they can use to measure that, but even with that tool, it's a little bit tough to measure like pitting within some of those areas and stuff like that. So just a question mark of the integrity of a steel hull until you really spend a lot of time with it. Displacement. Heavy full displacement boat. We're not looking for a motor yacht. We're not looking for a semi or planing or a semi-planing or a semi-displacement boat. Full keel. Ideally, the keel protects the prop and the rudder. I think we're open to both single and twin engines. Must be diesel fuel.
If it is a single, ideally a bow thruster, or the fact that we can add a bow thruster.
If it's a single, it has or the ability to set up some sort of get home feature.
Ideally 5 to 7 foot
draft,
but I think we'd be willing to go up to 9.
And we had talked about this if we were looking to strictly cruise the Bahamas, like really get back there, which we do want to do, but we've done it so much that it's not like top of our list. We want to get to places like Scandinavia and some of those ways across, like Greenland and Iceland and some of those areas. Back to the Pacific Northwest and Alaska and the Sea of Cortez. And those are the locations that are really on our bucket list, and none of those locations really require a very shallow draft. And even a 9-foot draft in the Bahamas is doable. Like, plenty of monohull sailboats do that. Range or fuel carrying capacity, I think ideally it's got enough capacity to cross the Pacific, because if we do decide we want to cross the Pacific and it's, you know, in whatever 5 to 10 years or whatever, and we do decide that we want to do it on this boat, it'd be nice to have the ability to do that. I think it'd be really cool, really unique. Not many people cross the Pacific on a trawler or motorboat, but I mean, people do, but it's not very common. So ideally it has that capacity, but I think at the minimum, the capacity to cross the Atlantic. Fuel consumption, our limit is 1 gallon per mile. So some of these big commercial fishing boats, they consume over a gallon a mile. So it might take close to 2 gallons to get a mile. 1 gallon a mile is already a lot. And there's no way, we are not going to have a boat that consumes more than that. Ideally, it's much less than that, but that's the hard cutoff, 1 gallon a mile. Because if that's our only fuel consumption, and we have a big enough boat where we have a ton of solar, we never have to run that generator, and that's our only, you know, expense, like big expense, and we could just go a little bit slower and get a little bit better than that by not going full speed, then that'd be great. And then if we do have to go 1 gallon per mile, well, then it would cost us, what we say, 1,000, maybe $5,000 to get from Florida to New York if we were going up and down the East Coast or whatever. So we just go slow, take our time, and enjoy the places, like stop there for long enough.
Doesn't that stab your soul? $5,000.
Yeah, but that'd be like, I mean, if we were doing the typical snowbird run and going from New England to Florida every year, or New England to the Bahamas, that's $10,000 a year in fuel, and then whatever you're doing in between, which is kind of minimal compared to that run. So like, yeah, it's a lot of money,
because
but
it's our insurance money going to our fuel budget.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we still have to save up for our insurance money. But yeah, it is, but that's the price you pay for, you know, everything else. Many of these trawlers are rolly, but most of them, or a lot of them, do have stabilizers. So stabilizers, or the ability to add stabilizers, and those would be like the active fin stabilizers like naiads, or even like paravane stabilizers like you see on a lot of commercial fishing boats. And honestly, even whether the boat has or doesn't have stabilizers, I kind of would want to add those paravane stabilizers so that at anchor we could have, maybe they're not the fish, maybe they're like more like flopper stoppers, and we could put them out and we could be like off a surf break and be nice and stable out in the ocean where there's some swell, just anchored out off a surf break or whatever. Or just as backup stabilizers in case like active fin stabilizers fail.
And we've never had stabilizers on any of our other trawlers, but we got so lucky with mountain mist and the weather wind we got from California up to Washington, because it was flat calm the whole way. We didn't know any different, and then one day, like going through the Straits of Juan de Fuca or something, we got waked by a tanker, and literally our fridge flew, our oven flew, our table flew, and like we were just all over the place. And
we were
it was fun.
very careful in the conditions that we did use mountain mist in, and we got lucky with most of the conditions being calm, but we did see it as a vulnerability. Like, definitely, we would want stabilizers on our next boat for sure. What's going to come up also are things that are like space and comfort, and I think it's important for people to know that we've been doing this for 10 years full time, living on boats, traveling, 10 years full time. We've done it camping style on Tula and Adrenaline, and then we've done like
and Neverland.
even Neverland.
I didn't have a shower. I literally showered outside under the bridge for like 3 years in college.
So we've talked about this before, like, a lot of these things are in search of more comfort, but also more comfort or the ability, because of the comfort or because of what we're looking for, the ability to keep doing this and go further and stay out longer and not feel so restricted.
Because within that 10 years, we, like most people give up after like 3 or 4 years, but within that 10 years, we've come to realize that we really do love living on the boat. We love traveling by boat. We love getting to see all the places, and we have so many places that we do want to see. So we don't want to give it up yet. And in order to keep doing that and not get burnt out, we know that you either got to go smaller and get a house, and then you can take breaks, or go bigger and not get a house and just like have the comfort in your home.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff might sound like a little bit like luxurious or whatever, but that's the reality. If we want to keep doing this, that's got to be how it is for us. Otherwise, we have to do it a different way.
And we also work on the boat, and we also want people to be able to come if we're going to go farther for longer. We want people to be able to come and stay longer and stay comfortably for them and for us. So that is all into it too.
Yeah. So in terms of that, what are we looking for in like terms of staterooms and galley, like interior stuff?
So ideally, we'd have 3 staterooms. 2 of those rooms I would really, really, really like to be walk around, at least queen size beds for us and for like ideally our parents when they come. Because on this boat, we've had so many people come and visit, but our guest room, if it's a couple, someone's got to climb over someone in order to go to the bathroom or do whatever. And if you're there for a long time, we know we lived on adrenaline like this for years. It just gets not super comfortable. So when our parents come to visit, we want them to have like a comfortable bed, queen.
But you keep saying walk around, but it's acceptable to you if you can get in and out by the foot as
It
well.
is acceptable. It is acceptable,
Okay.
but ideally walk around for us and for them.
What about like galley and salon and any of that storage?
I just want at least as much space as we have now, and in terms of the galley, maybe a little bit more space, because I really do like cooking with like a crock pot and like a blender, and I don't like having that stuff on the counter. And like I don't have a crock pot now. We don't have we have the toaster oven, but there's a lot of other like a KitchenAid for when I make bread, just stuff that would make life easier that we don't have now, that we don't have the space for.
It's been, this past year especially, we've been doing a lot more. I mean, we've always like caught our own fish and like cooked that. We try to, we go out to restaurants maybe at most like once a week, but we've been doing a lot more cooking on the boat, a lot more of that kind of stuff. And you've been making like a lot more bread and like sourdough and making your own stuff, and I think we'd like to do more of that even.
I've been slacking since we've been back to the States because it's easy to just get it, and we don't feel super great when we eat tons of bread, but I do like making it. Like, it's fun. Separate office. This is where we differ a little bit. Right now we have our desk, but it's not a comfortable seating position. So like if we just had a better seat, where you want your space like totally separate.
Well, yeah, and it also, when we have guests or when someone's doing something, it's in the same space as like your living space. This is our job, is to be editing on the computers, making videos. All these things I like to take away the obstacles from doing the job well. So whether it's in the engine room from doing repairs or maintenance, let's take away the obstacles from being able to do that stuff really well by having the systems easily accessible and neat and clean and bright. So same thing with like an office. Have kind of a dedicated space where you can go to work on the computer and get the work done we need, where there's no interruptions. You're not sharing a living space, say if we have guests or even if someone, whatever. It's this dedicated space where your office equipment lives, your computer lives, your hard drive lives, and you can go there to do work, and there's no obstacles to get in your way from doing that work. But we've talked a lot, and we think that a lot of these cases, the pilot house could double as office space, because you're only in the pilot house generally for when you're underway. When you're not underway, it's kind of, and could be an empty space, and that could double as a dedicated office space.
Another spot where we differ a little bit is you want a dedicated mud room.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? Because it sounds ridiculous.
It does. Like, most of this stuff, especially my stuff, is going to be ridiculous, and it's going to be...
most of your stuff is not ridiculous. Your engine room stuff is so like,
practical.
yes, like that's totally fine.
So some sort of dedicated, like mudroom, utility room, gear room. One of the biggest things when we're out traveling in different countries, it stresses me out worrying about our gear and equipment. So when it's not locked in the boat, it causes stress. I don't like that. We also like things to have their own home. Again, we like things to be easily accessible. So our fishing poles, our spears, whatever. Like we come up on a weed line, it's nice when they're easily accessible. We can grab a spinning rod or a spear and our fins and stuff and jump in the water like that. It's all neat, organized, clean, ready to go. So to have some sort of space that's dedicated for that, but that can also be locked and not visible would be amazing. In addition to all that stuff, the gear stuff, it's a space where you could have a nice hanging locker or a nice hanging space where you can hang the wetsuits and all the foul weather gear, and they're not in like your main living space, they're wet, whatever, they can hang. This room can be like a mix between, it's like
You call it a mudroom.
a mudroom. You walk into the boat, so say this is in the back of the boat, you just got done whatever, spearfishing or surfing, you're in your wetsuit, or it's pouring outside, you can come into this room that's like a waterproof room and hang all your wet stuff in there, and then you can walk into the rest of the boat instead of walking straight into the salon. Some of this stuff is going to be a little...
We'd have to build it out. Like, most boats are not gonna...
Yeah, you don't see this on a lot of boats. But, like, all our experience living on all these boats, these are the things that we've kind of come up with that would make life better. Not necessarily easier, because I think that can get boring, but better. Just allows us to do more. If we're going to a big trawler, we're going to be spending money as we travel on fuel just for propulsion. So I'd like to have as much solar as possible so that we're running a generator as little as possible. We will still have a generator for backup and for those days we're not producing enough power, but I really would like to have a massive solar array. So again, this is something that I haven't seen on many other trawlers at all, but it's something that we would like to add ourselves. A really big solar array, try to make us as off-grid as possible. We will be dependent on diesel fuel, but it'll hold a ton of diesel. It'll be very rare that we have to go to the dock for diesel, and then hopefully we can just, run as much of the boat as we can on solar. So for that to happen though, the boat's gotta be kind of a certain layout where we can add that solar and keep the lines of the boat looking nice.
Our number one thing where it's gotta be like unique and have character, but we don't want that character ruined by adding a giant structure that ruins the entire look.
Standing headroom in the engine room. With all these systems, with engines and generators, air conditioners, like all these things, electrical components, I'd like a big engine room, standing headroom, something where you can access all these things easily so that it's easy to spot problems, it's easy to work on, it's easy to do maintenance because you don't have air conditioning compressors like tucked in this corner or this tucked in this corner. You don't have to be leaning over the engine to do oil changes. So standing headroom, plenty of room in the engine room to be able to do that. Maintenance and repairs and things like that. And I think a lot of the boats that we're going to be looking at will require some kind of cleaning up in the engine rooms to make organized and neat and everything, kind of the same way I did on Mountain Mist. I mean, I feel like I transformed that engine room. I made it nice and bright, put lights everywhere, cleaned it up so nice, and cleaned up some of the systems just to make it really just clean, easily accessible, just how I think an engine room should be. I don't want to have to open up the salon panels to access the engine room.
Something we have definitely learned in the past year in the Caribbean is having as much shade as possible, or coverage. It doesn't have to be canvas, it could be coverage to cover
like a hard topper.
As much as possible because the sun ruins everything.
It's brutal to you, to us. It's brutal to gear and equipment. So if we,
heats up the boat.
No one ever complains about too much shade. So
yeah.
I mean, and that might be another thing where like we do create a solar structure or whatever that does fit with the lines of the boat, that does add to the amount of shade on the boat. But yeah, the sun wreaks havoc on, especially down in the Caribbean. again, it's just easier to live on a boat when you have, even if it's not in the Caribbean, if it's in the Pacific Northwest and it starts to get cold and rainy and snowy, to have that shelter just makes it better to live on the boat.
You had a day head?
Yeah, day head. Was that was just a want, right?
Yeah.
Just a Yeah, because a lot of these boats, like a lot of the living spaces is like down below in the boat. So it'd be nice to not have to go down a full flight of stairs every time you had to go pee. So a lot of these boats do have a day head, like whether it's in the pilot house or just on the main level. Salt and freshwater washdowns, both at the bow and in the cockpit for cleaning fish, washing the anchor chain, just cleaning the boat. But again, that's something we could, do ourselves. So
You wanted an outdoor kitchen.
yeah, again, something that we can create, but some sort of station that's kind of, ideally it's kind of like a whole outdoor kitchen. It's a fillet or like a counter space that you could fillet big fish on. Like even if we had a big tuna, you could do it right there. You don't have to do it on the floor or on a cooler or whatever. And then right next to it you have a grill, and then that counter space can function as counter space for whatever else you want to do. Just cleaning, and then a sink out there as well, that'd be really, really cool to have. That whole basically outdoor galley would be
And
really
these are
neat.
just wants. That's not a need. It's just a want or
And it's
something we could like build out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Dinghy.
Ability to have a large tender. Like, we're talking 16, 17-foot tender, but also the ability to carry a smaller tender as well. Because there are a lot of places, large tender would make life...
Wait, you want a large tender, a small tender, and Tula? You want to bring 3 boats on our boat?
Yeah. Yeah. Tula is kind of a side thing, but I think a big enough boat that would fit those things would also be able to fit Tula. But a large tender, like, already, again, when we have guests, when we have at least 2 friends plus gear, we can't plane off in this tender. So to have a 16, 70-foot tender, we can go out on missions on, surfing, spearfishing. It's more comfortable to get out into rougher conditions to do those things. We can go further, leave the mothership behind, and just go do what we want to do. What's so funny?
The mothership.
Ability to have a large tender and to have it not have to tow it, to be able to hoist it on deck somewhere. And then with that, there's a lot of places, especially like in New England or Florida, where they don't allow a boat bigger than like 12 or 13 feet to be at a dinghy dock. So to have maybe a 10 to 12 foot inflatable tender as our smaller tender to launch when that is a restriction would be nice.
Our final thing that we differ the most on.
Size.
I say the smaller the better. Billy says the bigger the better.
I say that a longer waterline length is better, because for a given beam or a given displacement, if you have a longer waterline length, that's going to be a little bit more efficient and a little bit more comfortable than a shorter waterline length. But besides that, I'm willing to go as small as possible that would check all the other boxes. So we're looking for boats anywhere from like probably 50 foot to my biggest, I would say, is like 80 foot.
Which just makes me think you're insane.
Now, you guys gotta understand. We worked our way up to this, first off. Second off, if we want to keep doing this, we have to have a lot of these requirements. Otherwise, we might as well just get a small, like 30-something foot trawler and a house. And do it that way.
I haven't X'd like a 40-foot trawler and a small house. Like, having mountain mist and a house, I still think that's totally doable.
Yeah, but even mountain mist is a little too big to also have a house, because you are paying for, if you do go that route, you are paying for docking and insurance.
We
and
need a
stuff
really
like
cheap
that.
house.
I'd like to go all in and like do it kind of big and do it different, do it unique. Like, it's not like we're naive to what goes into a bigger boat like that. We've worked our way up to bigger boats. We've never had a boat that big, but we know how things scale. Just seeing what's out there and seeing what all our requirements are, it's kind of leaning towards what's necessary to fit, to check all the boxes.
I think we can do it in 55 to 60 feet.
I don't see how we could do it in less than 65 foot.
So this is where we differ. So that is why you are coming along with us as we look at some options.
If we want to do this practically, alright, we would get like a 50-foot boat and we would just make the compromises. We would make it work. This space would double as this space. You'd have to, we'd have to get a mini washing machine that would be in a head or would be in the galley.
I guess my reason is I'm fine with all of that.
And that would be the most practical way to do it. Like, this space doubles as this space is way smaller. We don't have 2 bedrooms that have queen beds that you get in from both sides. You have one of those maybe, but then the other one is, what's the next size down from a queen?
Full.
If we want all these things, it's gotta be in a big boat. If we want to be super practical, we'd go with a 50-foot boat and we'd make the compromises necessary to be on a 50-foot boat. The biggest thing that I'm trying to get to, our business, these videos, our YouTube channel, the more unique, the more outrageous and impractical it is, the better it does.
Yes, but you can do that in a 55-foot boat. We could get a really cool, like, commercial 55-foot boat, and that would do just as good as a commercial 70-foot boat.
It'd be more outrageous in a commercial 70-foot boat, and it'd be cooler. And we could do more off of that boat. Well, we just have to get on, see what's out there, get on these boats, and see what could work and what will definitely not work for each of us.
And it could be a cat or it could be a trawler.
Well, I don't even know if we're going to get on any cats.
I think we should.
We could if they're, yeah, we totally could.
I think the cat that would be the cat for us is like hiding in a boatyard somewhere. It's not listed on Yacht World. It's like a old, like, Katana 58 or something that a family no longer needs, and it's like literally rotting away, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. People ask us if they should go trawler or sailboat. And I've always said, you gotta ask yourself if you really want to sail. If you don't really want to sail, and you're just like thinking of a sailboat because maybe it's cheaper, or maybe you think you're gonna save money on sailing, it's not worth it. If you don't really want to sail, do not get a sailboat. But now it's kind of, like, that's our decision.
Yeah, because I know you really do like to sail.
But
you only really like to sail really fast.
It's not really fast. It's just a certain type of sailing. Like, we need a bigger boat, but if it is a slug, yeah, I'm not going to get the satisfaction I get in sailing if we're not sailing. Again, it doesn't have to be fast. It's just got to be, like, fast for given conditions or whatever. It can't be a slug. Because that is even more frustrating. Because, again, like, it goes back to what we were saying before. We find ourselves, if we're looking to sail, we find ourselves in rougher conditions. Or if we're looking to go calm, then we just find ourselves motoring. And it's just frustrating motoring on a sailboat. That's really what it is.
With that, if you have seen or have heard of any really unique, cool boat, you guys did us so well in Mountain Mist. You did us so well. Like, we would not have been able to find that without posting what we posted online, and that is exactly how we found Mountain Mist. So, if there's any boatyards around, and you see a really cool boat that you think we could do something really unique with, let us know. Our email will be in the description, and send it our way. We will say we can't respond to everybody. We are going to be extremely picky. We know what we want, as you just watched this video, so yeah.
But if you think, especially something, I mean, it's got to be something that checks all the required boxes, and then hopefully a lot of the what we want boxes. And if you think that something is out there, then send it our way. Alright guys, well, stay tuned and we'll let you know what we find.
Make sure to tune in next week for a tour of one of the coolest boats we have ever stepped foot on. Thanks again, Groons, for sponsoring this video. You can grab some at the link in the description. And most importantly, thank you for watching.